Lynn, 7 months in, enjoying your portfolio?
Of course I'm enjoying my portfolio. I think I've settled into it now. It's I'd probably describe it as when I first took it, it was like getting married without the honeymoon, because I got it. John was good enough to put his faith in me that I would be able to be good at the portfolio, and then come all the cuts. So I felt like, yes, it was like getting married with no honeymoon, but I feel that I've had to work hard. I understand my portfolio. So yeah, I think that, yeah, it's good, 7 months on.
Because people often feel that you should really need about 4 years as a backbencher to get a feel of things and then take on a portfolio, but you've only been in for 2 years. So has it been a big leap for you?
I think, of course, it was a big leap. You know, I didn't expect that after 2 years I'd have a portfolio. But you have to remember what portfolio I have got and the fact that I've volunteered in Thurrock for 20 years. So I do understand what it's like to be part of the voluntary sector. I've put in the hours to learn about the library services, you know, the leisure. So I think I've done my homework, and hopefully I am a good portfolio holder, you know. I think that, yeah, I think that I'm doing a good job, actually.
And the task of standing up for 45 minutes in council and then having, after that, a series of questions, was that hard? It
was. I don't think that you can prepare yourself for that, you know. I think all I could do was just make sure I knew what could come. You know, I had to prepare my report and be able to field anything around that. You know, operational issues are not mine, but I have to understand what goes on in that. And I think that in my 45 minutes or whatever it was, thereabouts 45 minutes, I think that I held my own. I think that I was able to answer the questions. So, yeah, it was... Yeah, I think it went pretty well, really, considering what had happened in months before. You know, I think that it was a job well.
What do you think is the most difficult cut to have to deal with?
I've had to think long and hard about what cuts, because they're not statutory. The libraries, well, we have to have libraries, we do, and there is parts of it that we do have to have. But none of it's been easy for me. But I think the fact that we're not closing any libraries will buck the trend up and down the country. I think that is what you will see up and down the country, is that libraries will close. At the moment, for me, the hardest part is dealing with impulse leisure. You know, we do need leisure facilities. I do know that impulse they're not the enemy, these are partners, you know, so any cut to them is going to be hard. They're going to really, really feel it. So that is why I've taken the decision and I've spoken to the leader, and we're going to have a series of meetings with Impulse Leisure before we put anything on the table as the cuts. I've spoken to the directors at Impulse Leisure and I've asked them to come up with a series of scenarios for me about what does 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% really look like in real terms, and only then will we be able to make the real decision about what we do around Impulse Leisure. But I have to make these cuts. My portfolio has to take its fair share of the cuts. £15 million of cuts in this council can't be found without hurting. It's going to hurt. We did tell people it was going to hurt. So, you know, I don't know what else to say other than to say I'm doing my best, you know, for the people of Thurrock to make sure that I hold together our services. Okay,
so we're here in 2010. Looking forward to 2012 and the Olympics. You've gone up to a series of meetings to do 2012. How's that going?
Yeah, that was a really interesting meeting. There's lots and lots of stuff that's going to be going on in the run-up. There's been lots of stuff that has happened in Thurrock already, and I've paid tribute to people that have carried that out. But most of the funding to that, people don't realise, runs out at the end of March. You know, these are all funded events. So we need to be looking past March 2011 and making sure we're preparing for 2012. So I will be going to these meetings. I'm sure that the government will be releasing pots of funding, and we need to be sitting at the table making sure that Thurrock's getting some of that funding. You know, our schools are involved, our voluntary groups are involved, you know, all of our sports teams are there. We need to celebrate this. We're not going to see this happen again in this country, and I just want to make sure that Thurrock's part of that.
But you are a councillor, you are a politician. I always get a feeling with you that the big society slightly winds you up.
No, the big societies, I don't think the big society is anything new really, you know. I think that the big society has been around for a lot of years. It's just, you know, as I said before, it's had a lick of paint, been tightened up and it's back out there. So I think that, you know, people do need to start helping themselves, you know, and I think that we do need to start getting people to deliver some services. That will happen in the next year or so. You know, I've asked officers to look at what can the community start running for us rather than us running for them. You know, what could we get them put out there? What council services are out there that we could perhaps get our communities to be running for us instead of us running for them? You know, more cost effective. That's what we've got to learn to do. We've got to learn to get our services done. They've got to be smarter.